Should we actually write our memoir while we are still hurting? Because I think there are dangers if we do that. Hello, I'm Brenda. This is Write Your Story, and I'm here to help you to write your memoir. Many of us are going to write stories that have hard things we need to unpack, and that is the gift of writing. Writing is a way to actually explore in a deeper way our stories, the happenings in our lives, the difficult things that have happened, and we need to do it by writing it. There's such therapy in doing that. And in order to first write our story and to tell our story, we do need to do what I call the purge on the page. We need to get that story, the anger, the frustration, the disappointment, the grief, whatever it is, the shock, onto the page. And we need to have the liberty to tell it the way we want to tell it, to use the words we find best express what we've been through and how we responded to it, how we feel about it. We need to be able to say anything we want to say to anybody on that page. That's why it's called the purge on the page. It's an integral and critical part to writing our stories, to coming to understand them better, coming to own them, and coming to find our voice through them. If we miss this part of exploring our story first for ourselves, and we go straight to writing our memoir, our voice is going to reflect our hurt. It will reflect in the catch and the tone of our voice. If it's not hurt, it's going to be bitterness, it's going to be revenge, it's going to be some form of aggression. And that is not what we want to have in our memoir. That's not to say that it's not going to be hard when we write that memoir. We will still find it difficult. We will still work through things, have tears perhaps running down our face, have emotions come up in us. But the perspective or the place from which we write this memoir will be different if we have first done the purge on the page and we've experienced some level of healing before we get to writing our memoir. This will give us a much more objective voice. Now, some may think, well, I don't want to have an objective voice. I want to be angry while I write this, or I want to express my emotion. I agree. Even in my memoir, I still have those emotions that come through on the page. But because I'd done the purge on the page through my journaling, because I had worked through some of my hurt with emotional counseling, because there was some distance between the event and the writing of my memoir by virtue of going through the process and the editing and the reviewing, I found that that hurt, that tone was not personal. And that's what I think we have if we write our memoirs first before processing our hurt, is the tone is personal. We are out to tell our story and we are out to express our emotions. And too bad who gets caught in the crossfire. And that I find is a danger of writing our memoirs while we are still hurting. Rather than personal, we want to be able to step back, look at our story, evaluate what's hard about it, and talk about it with a tone that has some level of acceptance, some level of resolution, some level of process, and that will then give us a voice that is stronger. It won't have that catch of hurt, that revenge, that bitterness. And I think what we need to evaluate when we write our memoirs are these 4 things. We need to evaluate our motivation. Why are we writing this memoir? Are you wanting to explore grief? Are you wanting to understand your life better? Are you wanting to come to some conclusion about all the difficult things that have happened in your life so that you can find a way to live better and perhaps take those hard things and turn them into a force for good? Or do you just want people to know the hard things that have happened in your life, the difficult things, the way you've been mistreated, and that is your truth-telling that you feel you have every right to put on the page? There's a big difference between the two. In this one, when there's understanding, you're still telling your truth, but you're telling it from a perspective, a space that wants to come to some understanding, that wants to come to some healing, that wants to move forward, or you want some retribution. And only you will know by going deep down inside of your own heart and soul which one it is for you. And another word of caution, we can often delude ourselves. So therefore, don't be in a rush to get your memoir published. Take the time to work through it, to process it, and to continually ask yourself, why am I writing this memoir? What do I want to get out of it? The second thing we need to evaluate when we're writing our stories and we're still hurting are the relationships of the people in those stories. When you write your memoir, you will need to evaluate how important certain relationships are to you. If the person that has done you harm is someone who is far removed from your life now, then you're not going to have such an issue with spilling the beans and being able to tell what happened, because who cares really, I guess? You don't have a relationship with that person. There is no relationship to be lost. Or perhaps you've never really had a good relationship with that person. So if the relationship crumbles because of your memoir, what have you actually really lost? Perhaps it's brought to fruition a relationship that needed to be dismantled anyway. But if the people who you are writing about in your memoir are much closer to you, perhaps part of your friends, your family, people you have a relationship with, and some difficult things have happened that you want to talk about, you do need to evaluate how important those relationships are to you. Do you want to continue to have a relationship with this person? If the answer is yes, we need to then very carefully evaluate how we represent that person. Now, that is not to say we're not going to talk about difficult things. What it is to say is we're going to be circumspect about how we present those difficult things, how we express them, and what we want to have come out of it. There's no point in talking about people in your memoir and blasting them about things that have happened in your life if you then still want to have a relationship with them. It just doesn't work easily. People are going to be offended, hurt, not happy about being represented in your book in a way that doesn't put them in a good light. But it can be done in a way that can still redeem and hold a relationship together. And you need to decide how important is that relationship to you. Even in my memoir, there were things I wanted to say. I wanted to get some justice on the page. I know what I'm talking about here. I know what it's like to say, I want everyone to know what you did. But I had to evaluate, how much do I want to have a relationship with these people? Do I still want to have a relationship with them? And if so, is that more important than having my justice said on the page? And so I made the decision to rather go for relationship over justice, and to perhaps present certain aspects in a way that would keep relationships together, even if initially some people were not happy that I wrote my memoir. So that's something for you to evaluate. What are the relationships that will be strained because of your memoir, and how can you keep them intact if that is what you want? But it can be done if you have dealt with your hurt to some large extent. Sometimes we never get over aspects of hurt. We just learn to process them and live with them so that you don't then hurt other people. Because that is something we have to think about with our memoir. Hurt people hurt people. It's a given. I know all about that too. I made the decision I didn't want to hurt other people, but I did want to talk about certain truths in my life. And so you need to make that decision too. Do you want to hurt other people? Do you want to continue the cycle of hurt? And if so, what is it going to give you? Or would you rather use your memoir to explore difficult topics, to shine lights on things that have happened, but to try and do it in a way that does not perpetuate hurt? Because if it perpetuates hurt, are you then any better than the person who hurt you in the first place? And as my mother always taught me, two wrongs don't make a right. And so we walk a very fine line when we write our memoirs, to be very honorable in not deliberately hurting other people. So evaluate motivation, evaluate relationships, know that hurt people. And then the fourth one is to engage introspection. We need to engage introspection in writing our memoir and ask ourselves, what was my part in this? What is your part in the difficult things in your life? The first time I heard this was when I was in a group counseling session trying to process my complicated relationship with my alcoholic father. I was sharing things about my father, and I was perhaps not saying particularly nice things about my relationship with him, when the leader of the group looked at me very straight in the eye and she said to me, "What is your part in this?" And I was like, literally, that was a look on my face, like, "Are you stark raving mad? Are you crazy? What do you mean, what is my part in this?" I didn't ask to be raised in an alcoholic home. I didn't ask for an alcoholic father. I had no control over these things. What do you mean, what is my part in this? And I had to then come to accept I did have a part in this. Perhaps not when I was a child, perhaps not when certain injustices were done, perhaps not when some things were out of my control. But there came a time where, as an adult, I needed to evaluate my role, I needed to evaluate my response, and I needed to evaluate how I could do things differently and take ownership of that. I was participating in this madness. And so the question to you when you write your memoir and you come to those difficult things is, what is your part in this? Perhaps you did play a part in the downfall of your marriage and you're not as much of a victim as you think you are. Perhaps you had nothing to do with the great atrocity that happened in your life. That was totally out of your control. What is your response now? How are you dealing with it? What are your emotions? How do you go about in the world because of it? Those are things we need to evaluate when we are writing our memoir. We do need to look at, what is my part in this? Am I just the victim? If so, the tone in my memoir will be vindictive. But if we've done introspection, if we've looked at this, if our motivation is honorable and wanting some good to come out of this, our tone will be one of curiosity. It will be inquiring, and we will talk about the difficult things in our life with a tone that actually is strong. It will be authoritative because we will now be more neutral about what we are going to talk about. And I think that's one of the things we feel is, well, if I'm not hurting while I write this, how will I convey how I really feel? And I think what we need to also understand, what worked for me, what I think will work for you too, is that when we've worked through this process, when we've done the introspection, when we've done all this evaluation, when we've done some healing, we actually give ourselves a stronger voice. We can talk about the difficult things in our life that will convey much more poignant aspects of what has happened than if we're writing it from a really hurtful tone. We will have a voice that is more trustworthy, and that is the tone we want. That is the voice we want when we talk about the difficult things in our lives. I hope that that is helpful in a topic that's been really difficult to kind of ground and bring parameters around. And I hope that it's helpful in guiding you in writing your memoir. I look forward to hearing your responses, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video on memoir.